This cultivation session, Lin Jing directly cultivated for several hours. Only after several hours had passed did Lin Jing open his eyes and stop the continuous cultivation. Immediately after, Lin Jing felt the extremely hot flames spring around him, and his brow furrowed. Just now, Lin Jing had been attempting to draw the flame spring into his body, hoping to use it to fully master the 7 refinement body forging technique. But after hours of cultivation, Lin Jing found that his physique had stopped improving after reaching a certain level. Even at the end, Lin Jing had slowly withdrawn his protective spiritual power, enduring the unbearable high temperatures with only his body refining techniques. Despite this, he still couldn't break through the final barrier of the 7 refinement body forging technique. It seemed as if something was constantly preventing him from completely mastering the 7 refinement body forging technique. Lin Jing felt his body and began to ponder. A moment later, Lin Jing looked down at his feet. Under Lin Jing's feet was the flame spring with 100-meter depth, glowing intensely red like the gaping maw of a gigantic beast, terrifying to behold. Moreover, from this height of 100 meters above, Lin Jing could distinctly feel the horrifying heat from below. Then Lin Jing extended his divine sense, but it was blocked by the flame spring, unable to probe very deep. Seeing this, Lin Jing's frown tightened even more. After thinking for a moment, Lin Jing decided to dive below the 100-meter mark to try his luck. And as he thought, Lin Jing first gathered his spiritual power to protect his body. Afterward, he made some other preparations to prevent any unexpected occurrences. Once all this was done, Lin Jing began his descent. Upon contact with the area below 100 meters, Lin Jing immediately felt the terrifying temperature. Instantly, the temperature on his body soared, rising to a level that Lin Jing himself almost couldn't bear. However, Lin Jing didn't shrink back, but continued to dive deeper. It wasn't until his whole body was submerged below the 100 meters that Lin Jing stopped his descent. At this moment, Lin Jing's body was glowing red, like a red-hot shrimp. Here, Lin Jing finally felt his 7 refinement body forging technique stir once more. Therefore, Lin Jing sat down cross-legged right there and resumed his cultivation. After another 4 hours of cultivation, Lin Jing had only just managed to adapt to the current temperature. By now, he clearly felt that his 7 refinement body forging technique was still a hair's breadth away from perfection. Lin Jing's brow furrowed tight, and he couldn't help but think. Logically, with such high temperatures, the 7 refinement body forging technique should have been perfected long ago. It shouldn't be like this. Lin Jing looked at his own body, which had been burnt bright red, while also feeling the endless power contained within. It seemed that he was missing a catalyst. Lin Jing then lowered his head and thought. It wasn't until a good while later that Lin Jing seemed to have an epiphany, suddenly lifting his head, his eyes flashing with light. Subsequently, Lin Jing straightened his posture, his gaze unwaveringly determined. Then, he began to retract his spiritual power, gradually exposing his body protected by spiritual power to the flame spring. The moment the spiritual power was retracted, Lin Jing felt an immense, unbearable pain. Lin Jing clenched his teeth, silently enduring it. The flame spring found every opening to seep through his skin, inching into his body bit by bit. And within his body, the flame spring was far from tame. The fire element essence brought by the flame spring rampaged through his body, causing continuous damage to his body. And Lin Jing kept circulating the Overlord Divine physique, trying to heal his damaged body. In this cycle of destruction and repair, the 7 refinement body forging technique was improving bit by bit. Indeed, this was indeed the final way to improve the 7 refinement body forging technique, to let his body accommodate more power through constant destruction and reformation. Only all this destruction and reformation were happening internally. As the flame spring continued to penetrate deeper, Lin Jing's body was completely occupied by the fire element essence. If some practitioner of fire element cultivation techniques were to see this, they would certainly accuse Lin Jing of squandering precious resources, such rare fire element essence, and he was using it for body refining. Indeed, the fire element essence could be used for cultivation, but Lin Jing was not absorbing it to maintain the balance of the 5 elements within his body. He was merely using the fire element essence brought by the flame spring to continuously cleanse his body. By this method, he was aiming for a breakthrough in the strength of his physique. And so, after just 2 hours, Lin Jing suddenly felt a tremor in his body, followed by a wave of refreshing feeling that spread instantly throughout his body. Afterward, Lin Jing's body began to slowly shrink. The previously bulging muscles gradually disappeared, melting into his body. Lin Jing knew that this meant he had mastered the 7 refinement body forging technique to the 7th level of perfection. That's why this change occurred. Although the muscles on his body vanished and his body shape reverted to its previous form, his physique was stronger than before. The entire process of transformation lasted for a quarter of an hour, until, after the quarter hour had passed, Lin Jing's body had fully returned to normal. At this moment, Lin Jing felt the surging power within him, overjoyed. Since the 7 refinement body forging technique was perfected, this round of cultivation was also concluded for Lin Jing. Then, Lin Jing didn't linger any longer and started to ascend. When he passed the 50-meter mark, Lin Jing especially checked to see that Yan Wanfei had left at some point, just wondering whether he had managed to break through the 50-meter barrier this time. Afterward, Lin Jing continued upward. Soon, he returned to the cave. Then, Lin Jing changed into the clothes he had already prepared. Only after examining his body did he nod in satisfaction. Though he had been a hulking figure for several years, Lin Jing still preferred his current appearance. After that, Lin Jing left the place. When Lin Jing returned to Li Yan's city, even Youjiu, who saw him, was stunned. If it weren't for the familiar aura and voice, she wouldn't dare believe that this was Lin Jing's true appearance. However, Lin Jing's explanation soon helped her understand. Next, Youjiu told Lin Jing something. Youjiu and the other 2 had temporarily left Li Yan Island, apparently because they had some matters to attend to. They hadn't informed Lin Jing because they were afraid of disturbing his cultivation. The reason Youjiu had stayed behind was specifically to tell him this news. After hearing this, Lin Jing nodded. Now, the Li Yan Island was stable and there were no enemies left. Moreover, since returning after dealing with the Heavenly Desire Demon Monarch, Hala 3 Rivers had built a defensive fence integrated 5th-rank Grand Formation for Li Yan Island. This formation was even more formidable than the one previously set up by Dai Mao. Therefore, there was no fear of any attacks. Next, Lin Jing only needed to go about his business and didn't need to worry about anything. After talking with Youjiu for a while, Lin Jing then left Li Yan City to return to his alchemy room. He still needed to refine the flawless eternal youth elixir for Yan Wanfei. According to what Youjiu had just said, they would be gone for quite a long time. Lin Jing thought to himself that he should refine the flawless eternal youth elixir before they returned to give Yan Wanfei a surprise. Time passed quickly, and before he knew it, another 3 months had flown by. Throughout this period, Youjiu and the others hadn't returned, not even sending any messages. Then one day, as Lin Jing was practicing the Shenglin revival wood technique in the spirit field in the northern part of the Yan Island, repairing the delicate veins within the spirit plants, suddenly, Lin Jing felt a powerful divine sense sweep over him, and he promptly activated his own divine sense to scan back. When Lin Jing scanned back, he was immediately taken aback. Then a divine sense message reached Lin Jing's mind. Brother Lin, come quickly to Li Yan City. There are matters to discuss. It was Youjiu and the others who had returned. The one transmitting the divine sense message was precisely Youjiu. Lin Jing promptly replied through divine sense. Brother Liu, please wait a moment. Having said that, Lin Jing immediately stood up. Then he flew to Li Yan City on his flying sword. Arriving at the city lord's mansion in Li Yan City, Lin Jing immediately saw Youjiu and the others. Afterward, Lin Jing walked over with a smile. Brother Lu, Brother San He, Brother Yin, your mission this time has been quite lengthy. Yin Wanfei then said. This time, it was Brother Jiu who had some matters. We just accompanied him to take care of some business. Lin Jing then looked at Lu Youjiu with concern. Brother Lu, was the matter very troublesome? Lu Youjiu shook his head and said, It's just some private affairs, nothing serious. After speaking, Lu Youjiu took out a transparent stone of unknown material from his space ring and handed it to Lin Jing. He then said, Brother Lin, this is a piece of flowing light gold crystal, perfect for adding to your Ling Yin flawless sword to enhance its quality. If combined with the bright spirit origin stone in your hand, it could even further upgrade your Ling Yin flawless sword. You just need to find an energy refinement master to meld it into your Ling Yin flawless sword when the time comes. The bright spirit origin stone was that transparent material Lin Jingji had obtained from the island master's storage bag on Yuxing Island. The bright spirit origin stone was incredibly precious. Only a high-ranking energy refinement master could refine and integrate it into a flying sword. That's why the artifact refiner Yin Wanfei had found earlier didn't take the initiative on his own. At that moment, Yin Wanfei quickly added, Brother Lin, I won't be able to help you find an artifact refiner this time, because we three are leaving. Lin Jing was taken aback upon hearing this, and then asked with confusion, Leaving? To where? When Lin Jing had come here, he felt that the atmosphere was a bit off, especially Yin Wanfei, who had lost his usual liveliness. So this was the reason. Lu Youjiu spoke up. This time, we're planning to leave this southern outer sea and head to the inner sea. Once we leave this time, we won't be coming back for a short while. When we return, we don't know how many years it will be. So we've come to bid farewell to you, Brother Lin. Lin Jing then continued to speak, asking, Lu, brother, weren't you always training in the outer southern seas before? Why do you suddenly want to leave for the inner sea? Lu Youjiu paused for a moment and then looked at Lin Jing, explaining, Actually, my home has always been in the inner sea. I was originally the son of the Shocking Seas Alliance's alliance master, Lu Jingtao. It's just that I had some disagreements with my family, which is why I came out to fend for myself. Upon hearing this, Lin Jing was immediately startled and quickly asked, The Shocking Seas Alliance? Is that the top-tier power known as the Shocking Seas Alliance, which is on par with the Seven Seas Hall and the Changyin clan? Lu Youjiu nodded, saying, That's right. Hearing Lu Youjiu confirm this, Lin Jing was also utterly shocked. The Shocking Seas Alliance was an extremely famous top-tier force within the Demon Monster Seas Inner Sea. Together with the Seven Seas Hall, Changyin clan, and the Ice God Palace, they were known as the four great powers of the Demon Monster Inner Sea. It could be said that the entire Demon Monster Inner Sea is under their control. Moreover, the Shocking Seas Alliance's strength is incomparably formidable, and within the alliance, there were also numerous experts. In terms of combat power, it was close to the strongest, the Seven Seas Hall, and could almost be considered among the top two. Unexpectedly, Lu Youjiu turned out to be the son of the alliance master of the Shocking Seas Alliance. Lin Jing then gave a wry smile and said, Lu, brother, I had no idea you were the young master of the Shocking Seas Alliance. You kept it so well hidden from me. Lu Youjiu, however, shook his head, a trace of desolation in his gaze. Actually, sometimes I wish I were just a loose cultivator. A moment later, Lu Youjiu collected his emotions and continued. Let's not talk about that now. It was just 3 months ago that I received news that a major event happened in the Demon Monster Inner Sea, affecting many major powers, and the impact was not insignificant. Furthermore, this matter has extensive implications. If I were to stay here, not only would my safety be at risk, but it could even possibly implicate you as well. That's why I must return to the Shocking Seas Alliance. Only in this way can I ensure my own safety. And after returning this time, I probably won't be able to come out freely anymore. Hence, we needed to come and bid you farewell. Lin Jing fell silent for a moment. Then he turned his head, looking at Hala Three Rivers and Yin Wanfei, who were behind Lu Youjiu. and continued to ask, Sanhe brother and Yin brother, are you both going back with him? Youjiu nodded, saying, yes. This time, I might get involved in some issues, so I need a few trustworthy people by my side. The three of us have been together for many years and know each other quite well. These two are the right candidates. Lin Jing then fell silent for a while and said, I understand. After saying this, Lin Jing looked at the others and asked, so when do you plan to set off? Youjiu pondered for a moment, then said, in a few days. We still need to make some other preparations these few days. If that's the case, we still have time for another gathering. Youjiu didn't propose that Lin Jing accompany them, and Lin Jing didn't offer to follow. Both knew that no banquet in the world goes on forever, and it was time for them to part ways. Because Lin Jing's identity was special, and there were likely still many enemies in the demon monster inner sea, so it wasn't a good time for him to venture into the inner sea. Lin Jing was also aware of this and naturally didn't propose to go, to avoid causing trouble for Youjiu. Lin Jing then nodded. That's good. How about we gather again tomorrow? I'll cook. Shen has been looking forward to it for a long time. Upon hearing this, Yin Wanfei immediately nodded repeatedly, saying, that sounds great. To tell you the truth, I have been craving that seabird you roasted since last time. Youjiu also nodded, saying, I was fortunate enough to eat it once. The flavor really was good. Lin brother, I'll have to trouble you then. Lin Jing smiled and said, no problem. I'll make sure you all have your fill next time. No sooner had Lin Jing's voice faded when Hala Three Rivers spoke up at this moment, very seriously saying, you all have had it. Only I haven't even seen it, let alone tasted it. I always feel like I'm at a bit of loss. Yin Wanfei then laughed and said to Hala Three Rivers, that's easy to fix, just eat twice as much next time, and you'll be even. Hearing this, Hala Three Rivers pondered seriously for a moment, then said, that proposal, I think it's feasible. Lin Jing also smiled. No problem, you'll get to eat your fill. At this point, Lin Jing suddenly remembered something and then said to Yin Wanfei, Nio-san. Yin Wanfei turned his head to look at Lin Jing. Lin brother, what is it? Tell me. Following that, Lin Jing then directly took out a pure jade box and tossed it to Yin Wanfei. Seeing the object Lin Jing threw over, not even identifying what it was, Yin Wanfei quickly reached out to catch it. Feeling the icy temperature in his hand, Yin Wanfei looked down. He saw a perfectly square, pure jade box in his hands, and inside that box lay an almost transparent elixir medicine. When he saw the elixir medicine, Yin Wanfei first froze for a moment, then became incredibly excited. Eternal Youth Elixir. Lin brother, you truly managed to refine it. Lin Jing wore a light smile and then said, it was also a bit of luck, didn't expect to succeed on the third try. Yin Wanfei then burst into hearty laughter. Ha! Lin brother, you're really something else. No way, I gotta give you a bear hug today, no matter what. Speaking, Yin Wanfei spread his arms, ready to embrace. Lin Jing's smile immediately froze on his face. Then he quickly reacted and hastily hid behind Youjiu. Then he began to stir the pot. Brother Liu, Nio-san is being annoying again. How about we beat him up? Youjiu nodded his head and looked at Yin Wanfei with a very unfriendly gaze before he spoke. Twice. I was annoyed too. The initially excited Yin Wanfei was immediately stunned and then quickly began to explain. No, Brother G. Drink, brother. It's just that I couldn't help myself. I wanted to express my gratitude to Lin brother. I protest, you can't treat me like this. However, Yin Wanfei's protest was directly rejected by Youjiu. You're too abnormal, protest denied. Hala Three Rivers also nodded at that moment, giving Yin Wanfei a disdainful look before speaking. At another one, I was disgusted just now as well. Youjiu nodded, saying, no problem. Yin Wanfei incredulously widened his eyes, looking towards Hala Three Rivers, and said, no way. Sanhe, even you too? But Hala Three Rivers was dead serious, replying, originally, I wanted to help out, by providing a formation while he was beating you up, but since it's the first time you've disgusted me to my face, I let go of that idea. I think you should be thanking me." Yin Wanfei immediately collapsed. "Oh my, what kind of people have I met?" A few days quickly passed, and Lu Youjiu and the others left together. Before leaving, Hala Three Rivers made a move to reinforce the formations of Li Yin Island for Lin Jing. Now, the entire defense level of Li Yin Island had been raised by more than a notch. Then, according to Lin Jing's plan, he also arranged several formations within the mountain range to the north of Li Yin Island. Following the idea Lin Jing had previously conceived, he turned the entire Li Yin Island into a semi-open island. The southern area of Li Yin Island, where many original resident cultivators lived, could be open to the outside, conducting trade with other islands and such. While the latter half of Li Yin Island, including the developed spirit fields and the mountains behind them, along with the Earth Flame Spring, were treated as the forbidden area of Li Yin Island. Usually shrouded by formations, they were off-limits to everyone. And Lin Jing lived in the northern part of Li Yin Island. This makeover of Li Yin Island was indeed a tiring task for Hala Three Rivers. First, there were 3 sets of stack formations for the entire island, followed by the Forbidden Zone in the northern part of Li Yin Island, which also required formation protection. All these required at least 3 sets of formations. A killing formation, a trapping formation, and a defensive array stacked together to form a chain of formations. Beyond these formations, Li Yin City also needed formation protection. Originally, Li Yin Island had 2 cities. The other city also changed its name to Li Yin Fong Market. In the future, this will be the place responsible for trade with the outside world and other islands in the Thousand Islands domain. Naturally, Li Yin Fong Market also required formation defense. And the spirit fields behind Li Yin City, too, naturally could not be without formation protection. All of these kept Hala Three Rivers extremely busy for the last few days. Thankfully, with the assistance of Lin Jing and Yin Wanfei, these formations were finally completed. After completion, Hala Three Rivers handed over all the control methods for these formations to Lin Jing. Now, Li Yin Island could be said to be entirely under Lin Jing's control. With these great formations in place, even if a divinity transformation stage cultivator were to come, they might not be able to break through these formations for a while. However, if it were for a prolonged period, that might be a different story. After all, Lin Jing's cultivation was still far from sufficient. So, for the time being, Lin Jing still needed to act with discretion, avoid attracting the attention of other formidable cultivators. Otherwise, even with formations for protection, it wouldn't be safe. Besides, before leaving, Lu Youjiu distributed some nirvana elixirs that Lin Jing had previously refined among the group. Since Lin Jing had provided the most crucial ingredient, the nirvana flower, and the elixir was made by his own hand, Lu Youjiu took the initiative to give Lin Jing the superior nirvana elixir and the medium-grade nirvana elixir, while the other 2 superior nirvana elixirs were given to Hala Three Rivers and Yin Wanfei, 1 for each, to be used when they attempt to reach the nascent soul stage. Beyond these elixirs, Lu Youjiu also learned from Yin Wanfei that Lin Jing wanted to plant high-grade elixir medicine seeds. So he arranged for Lin Jing to get 2 seeds through his own connections. These 2 seeds were precisely the spirit plants needed for refining the nirvana elixirs. Lin Jing didn't refuse and took the 2 seeds without hesitation. He genuinely needed these seeds. Then, before leaving, Lin Jing also prepared some elixir medicines for Hala Three Rivers and Yin Wanfei, so that the 2 could quickly improve their strength. Last, the group said farewell to each other. Lu Youjiu and the other 2 boarded the flying boat, and then left Li Yin Island. After Lu Youjiu and the others had departed on the flying boat, Lin Jing stood in the sky above Li Yin Island, gazing long and hard. In the future, they might meet again. But by then, Lin Jing might already have enough strength not to worry about anything anymore. But for now, he couldn't do that. After Lu Youjiu and the others left, Lin Jing's life once again resumed its previous pattern. Soon, another year had passed. In that year, Lin Jing either engaged in alchemy or cultivation and seldom went out. He had entrusted all the various affairs of Liyan Island to Youjiu's mother to manage. It must be said, Youjiu's mother's ability was indeed very strong. Perhaps it was also because she was an original resident cultivator of Liyan Island that, under her management, no problems ever arose. It's just that ever since she started managing Liyan Island, she had much less time to take care of the spirit plants. There was no choice, as Lin Jing currently had no other capable hands at his disposal. Now, only Youjiu's mother was somewhat reliable. It seems that if Lin Jing wishes to develop Liyan Island in the future, he would have to think of ways to cultivate some more trustworthy people. However, while cultivating reliable people is important, enhancing one's own strength is even more crucial. Without strength, everything else is an illusion. At this moment, Lin Jing was indeed such a case. Right now, he was sitting cross-legged in the system space, in closed-door cultivation, preparing to break through to the third level of the golden core stage. Next to him lay an empty pure jade box. The pure elixir it once contained had already been consumed by Lin Jing. For this assault on the third level of the golden core stage, Lin Jing had made thorough preparations. Actually, ever since entering the golden core stage, Lin Jing's cultivation speed had slowed down a lot compared to before. Over such a long time, Lin Jing had only advanced from the first level of the golden core stage when he first left Immortal Crossing Island to the peak of the second level. It was not until recently that Lin Jing sensed the opportunity for a breakthrough and began to prepare for it. For this breakthrough, Lin Jing even started preparations 3 months ago, refining the pure elixir. Now, having taken the pure elixir, the spiritual power inside Lin Jing's body was increasing continuously and converging toward his dantian. Due to his poor spiritual root aptitude, Lin Jing's breakthroughs were always extremely difficult. This time was no exception. Fortunately, Lin Jing had pure elixir medicine to assist in his breakthroughs. Otherwise, waiting for his cultivation to accumulate to an overflowing state would probably take many more years. One need only look at the Zhang family patriarch to understand the difficulty of Lin Jing's breakthroughs. The Zhang family patriarch took a full 500 years to break through to the late golden core stage. And Lin Jing had resources that were many times more abundant than what the Zhang family patriarch possessed. Not to mention, within the system space, the abundant spiritual power was sufficient even for divine transformation cultivators to practice cultivation. And Lin Jing continuously used various elixirs to increase his cultivation. With such favorable conditions, Lin Jing barely reached the peak of the golden core second level. Moreover, this was with the addition of the accelerated time flow of the system space. Taking into account the time within the system space, Lin Jing's actual cultivation time was even longer. However, given Lin Jing's poorer aptitude, such a speed of cultivation was actually acceptable. Should he want to cultivate faster, he would need to find some heaven-defying treasures that could improve one's spiritual root. Like, for example, the reversal fruit. But the reversal fruit was not so easy to find. For now, Lin Jing could only wish for it. Inside Lin Jing's body, the spiritual power transformed from the pure elixir continued to converge. Once these energies reached overflowing state, Lin Jing then controlled them, channeling them through his meridians before gathering them into his dantian. Merging into the golden core, time ticked by, and after an indeterminate amount, the spiritual power in Lin Jing's dantian had also grown more and more abundant. These energies soon reached a saturated state. Then, Lin Jing began to operate his cultivation technique and formed a small vortex in his dantian, attempting to compress and condense these energies. In this way, Lin Jing slowly focused all his body's spiritual power toward his dantian. Finally, after several hours had passed, Lin Jing suddenly felt a boom inside him as if he had broken through some kind of restraint, and then his body suddenly felt lighter, with his mind becoming exceptionally clear. He had broken through to the third level of the golden core stage. Then, the system notification chimed. Ding! System prompt. Congratulations to the host for a successful breakthrough of the current realm. Reward received. 30 harvest points. After the breakthrough, Lin Jing eagerly sensed the surging spiritual power within his body. Indeed, the third level of the Golden Core stage was much stronger than the second level. Now, he had substantially increased his combat strength compared to before the breakthrough, almost doubling it. Afterward, Lin Jing also took a moment to feel his divine sense. He distinctly sensed that his divine sense had also grown stronger. Once Lin Jing was satisfied with his current strength, he nodded contentedly. Then, he left system space and appeared in his alchemy room. Lin Jing's current alchemy room was no longer the one on the hilltop from before. This new alchemy room was moved to the highest peak in the northern part of Liyan Island. Since the entire northern part of Liyan Island was enveloped in a formation and entry by others was not allowed, Lin Jing enjoyed a lot of solitude here and was undisturbed. Only Youjiu's mother, on the few occasions she had other matters to discuss with Lin Jing, would come over. Following that, Lin Jing left his alchemy room and flew on his sword toward Liyan City. Upon reaching Liyan City, he went straight to the city lord's mansion. Here, Lin Jing met Madame Youjiu. Upon seeing Lin Jing, Madame Youjiu was first surprised. Then she said, "Island Master Lin, you've finally come down from the mountain? Your period of seclusion this time was truly not short, a full 6 months. Just like that, you left the entire Liyan Island to me to manage, playing the role of an absentee shopkeeper. You really trust me. It's made me now have even less time to cultivate." As she uttered these words, there was a touch of grievance in Madame Youjiu's tone. Lin Jing's face turned red, and then he said, "Now that the island has just started developing, we don't have many people to use, so I'm troubling you to put in more effort. Once we find suitable candidates, you will be able to relax a bit." Madame Youjiu sighed helplessly and said, "Sigh, all right, it seems like I'm not going anywhere for a while." Just as Madame Youjiu finished speaking, she suddenly asked Lin Jing, "Right, Island Master, do you have something to handle on your trip down a mountain this time?" Lin Jing nodded and then replied, "I've refined some elixir medicine and plan to sell them in exchange for some spirit stones. After all, the island has many daily needs, and the spirit plants we've been growing have not yet matured and can't be sold. We can't do without spirit stones." Actually, the main reason Lin Jing secluded himself for such a long time was that he spent most of it on alchemy. Before the spirit plants on Liyan Island matured and started generating profit, Lin Jing needed a large amount of spirit stones to maintain the operation of the entire Liyan Island. This was how Lin Jing managed Liyan Island, following the methods he had observed in Nanshan Immortal City. Madame Youjiu was responsible for management, while under her, they divided several foundation establishment cultivators, who in turn each had a number of people under them. These cultivators were recruited from the original inhabitants of Liyan Island. These local cultivators were helping manage Liyan City and Liyan Feng Market, and naturally, Lin Jing had to pay them a salary. Although currently, this approach did not seem to yield any results. Such early-stage investments were necessary. In time, these efforts would show their worth. Afterward, Lin Jing turned to Madame Youjiu and asked, "Madame Youjiu, you must be close to advancing to the Golden Core stage, aren't you?" Madame Youjiu looked at Lin Jing gratefully, then said, "Thanks to the Island Master's help, if nothing unexpected happens, I should be able to start preparing for the advancement to the Golden Core stage within half a year." Lin Jing nodded, then said, "Good. Once I've sold these elixir medicines, I'll get you 2 cultivation true elixirs to help you advance to the Golden Core stage." Madame Youjiu bowed deeply in gratitude and said, "Thank you, Island Master Lin." Lin Jing shook his hand, saying, "You've been helping manage Liyan City this whole time, and it's been tough on you. Once you advance to the Golden Core stage, by then, you should pick someone trustworthy and hand over the management of Liyan City to them." As he said this, Lin Jing suddenly remembered something and continued to ask Madame Youjiu, "Right, what preparations have you made for your tribulation?" Madame Youjiu quickly replied, "Before, I made a deal with Senior Zhang Jian, I imparted to him the Shenlin revival wood technique, and he agreed to help me prepare a formation for crossing the tribulation. As for other preparations, there are none. After hearing this, Lin Jing pondered for a moment and then said, "Okay, I understand. You don't have to worry about that. Leave it to me when the time comes." Lin Jing knew the reason Madame Youjiu had no other preparations was because she was financially embarrassed. Before Lin Jing's arrival, she could barely protect herself under Dai Mao, not to mention that advancing her cultivation had become an unattainable luxury. Where would she get the spirit stones to buy magical treasures or elixir medicine in preparation for advancing to the golden core stage? Even that formation for crossing tribulation was obtained through exchanging her family's heritage cultivation technique, the Shenlin revival wood technique. Now, Madame Youjiu was working for Lin Jing, and naturally, he would not allow her to be treated unfairly. This time, after selling the elixir medicines, Lin Jing planned to prepare a defensive magical treasure for Madame Youjiu to aid her in crossing the tribulation. As for the elixir medicines, Lin Jing could refine them effortlessly, so they didn't require much preparation. Afterward, Lin Jing continued to Madame Youjiu. "Madame Youjiu, I entrust Liyan Island to you for the time being. I'm going to Beihai City for a trip, and after I return from Beihai City, we will start preparing for your tribulation." Madame Youjiu quickly gave her thanks. "Thank you, Island Master," Lin Jing replied. "There's no need. I will still need you to take on additional responsibilities in the future." With that said, Lin Jing handed over part of the formation flags that control the island's formation to Madame Youjiu. Of course, this was only a part of them, which could simply control the formation to attack or defend against invading enemies. The truly important parts of the formation, several core formation flags, and the token used to control it, Lin Jing obviously wouldn't hand over. Madame Youjiu then said, "Rest assured, Island Master, with these formations, no one would dare to cause trouble on Liyan Island." After making all the necessary arrangements, Lin Jing mounted his sword and took off, leaving Liyan Island directly. The distance between Liyan Island and Beihai City was not very far to begin with. However, without a flying boat, Lin Jing could only rely on sword flight, crossing the vast sea. To fly to Beihai City in this manner would still take several days. On the other hand, traveling by flying boat would take at most a day or two to reach Beihai City. If possible, Lin Jing would have liked to purchase a flying boat for himself. But the price of a flying boat was not cheap, costing at least 1,000,000 medium-grade spirit stones. It was something he could not afford at the moment. For now, Lin Jing could only dream about it. After flying continuously for several days, Lin Jing finally arrived once again in Beihai City. This time, since he planned to sell elixir medicine at the Seven Seas Hall, Lin Jing made thorough preparations. On his way there, Lin Jing had already activated the Changyun hidden technique, altering his physique, appearance, and aura. By the time he arrived in Beihai City, Lin Jing had already transformed into a slender middle-aged man. Upon reaching Beihai City, Lin Jing looked at the grand buildings lining both sides of the main street. He couldn't help but feel emotional. It was said that the city lord of Beihai City possessed cultivation exceeding that of the divinity transformation. Perhaps it was precisely because of his extraordinary strength that no one dared to provoke him lightly, which in turn had led to the prosperity of Beihai City at present. Lin Jing wondered when he himself would reach such a level. After his moment of contemplation, Lin Jing crossed the street and headed straight for the Seven Seas Hall. Previously, Youjiu had briefly introduced the process of selling elixir medicine to Lin Jing. So although Lin Jing had never sold elixir medicine before, he was not unfamiliar with the process. And so, Lin Jing went straight to the third floor of the Seven Seas Hall. After reaching the third floor, Lin Jing declined the offer for guidance from the attendant and walked through the hall to its furthest end. At the very back, there was another room, where Lin Jing's destination lied. Upon entering the room, Lin Jing scanned the area. Apart from a middle-aged steward behind the counter and two maidservants standing by the door, the room was empty. The middle-aged steward had not concealed his cultivation. He was also a golden core stage expert. Moreover, his cultivation was slightly higher than Lin Jing's, being at the mid-stage of the golden core stage. Upon Lin Jing's arrival, the middle-aged steward directly addressed him. "Fellow Taoist, I wonder if you wish to sell overt goods or covert goods." Overt goods. These were easy to understand. They refer to items that could be exposed, traded normally, and would not attract trouble. Covert goods, on the other hand, were exceptionally secretive items that needed to be kept hidden from the public eye. For example, some of the magical treasures obtained by bandit cultivators. These treasures could be quite famous and not suitable for open use. Or some rare elixir medicine and materials. These might have been unexpected windfalls or acquired by some improper means. Or perhaps, for some reasons, one simply did not want to reveal their identity. However, although the transaction of covert goods was secretive and the Seven Seas Hall would not inquire further, it would require an additional fee of 10% compared to overt goods. Moreover, the Seven Seas Hall could guarantee that anyone who sold covert goods through them would never be traced back to by the buyer. Although boasting might be present in their claim, over the years, the Seven Seas Hall had indeed lived up to their promise. Covert goods sold through the Seven Seas Hall had never had their sellers traced. So gradually, more and more people began to sell their unseen magical treasures, cultivation techniques, or rare materials through the Seven Seas Hall. Over time, the trade of covert goods became another major business of the Seven Seas Hall. This time, Lin Jing naturally intended to sell his goods as covert goods, even though it would incur an additional 10% fee. The reduction in trouble made it worthwhile. Lin Jing then spoke directly. "Covert goods." The middle-aged steward nodded, then stepped out from behind the counter and said to Lin Jing, "The sale of covert goods is not conducted here, fellow Taoist. Please follow me." With that, the middle-aged steward left the counter and directed Lin Jing toward the back room. Lin Jing nodded and followed him. Soon, the two arrived at the back room. Inside the room, apart from an old man with white hair, there was no one else. At that moment, the white-haired elder was leaning back in his chair, closely examining a jade pendant in his hand. The middle-aged steward stepped forward and addressed the white-haired old man. "Elder Yi, this fellow Taoist has come to sell covert goods. Would you please take a look at them for us?" The one referred to as Elder Yi, the white-haired old man, looked up at Lin Jing and then said to the middle-aged steward, "All right, I've got it. You can go now." The middle-aged steward bowed to Elder Yi and said, "Yes, thank you for your trouble, Elder Yi." After he finished speaking, the middle-aged steward left the room. Then, Elder Yi sat up straight, put away the jade pendant, and said to Lin Jing, "Please take a seat." Lin Jing nodded and sat down opposite the white-haired elder. Elder Yi continued, "Take out all the covert goods you wish to sell, and I will help you evaluate the price. If you find the price reasonable, we can complete the transaction. If you find it unreasonable or have any questions, you are free to leave at any time." Indeed, upon learning of Lin Jing's intentions, this elder from the Seven Seas Hall had asked nothing. This was just as Youjiu had told him beforehand. Without hesitation, Lin Jing took out dozens of jade bottles from his storage bag. After taking those out, Lin Jing then took out over a dozen pure jade boxes from the storage bag as well. The elixir medicines inside these pure jade boxes were no ordinary matter. These were all third-rank elixirs. Lin Jing didn't even bother taking out any second-rank pure elixirs. All he took out were third-rank pure elixir medicines. Because even those second-rank elixir medicines, even pure elixirs, wouldn't attract attention and didn't need to be sold under the table. Only these third-rank pure elixirs might draw the attention of certain people if they were to be sold on a large scale. Seeing Lin Jing take out these elixir medicines, the white-haired elder went from indifference to slight surprise in the end. "Oh, the elixir medicines you have on hand seem rather plentiful." Though surprised, Elder Yi was not astonished. Having dealt with under-the-counter goods here for so long, he had seen this kind of situation countless times before. He had even seen quantities greater than what Lin Jing had brought out. In no time at all, Lin Jing took out all the elixir medicines he planned to sell. "That's all of them. Please take a look." In fact, these were not all the elixir medicines Lin Jing possessed. Because he didn't plan to sell all of his elixir medicines just yet. He intended to sell only this amount for the time being. As for the rest, aside from those he needed for his own use, Lin Jing also kept some as a precaution in case of emergency. With Lin Jing's words, Elder Yi then began to pick up the elixir medicines on the table and inspect them. He opened the stoppers of the jade bottles one by one, poured them out to examine closely, and was very meticulous in his inspection. It didn't take long for him to finish inspecting all of the elixir medicines in the dozens of jade bottles. Next, it was time to inspect those dozen or so pure elixirs. At this moment, Elder Yi spoke to Lin Jing. Before inspecting the pure elixirs, I need to inform you that we will need to open the pure jade boxes to inspect them. Lin Jing nodded and said, "Of course, feel free to begin the inspection." With Lin Jing's permission, Elder Yi nodded and then opened one of the pure jade boxes to begin his inspection. The moment the pure jade box was opened, the fragrance of the elixir instantly filled the air. Yet, Elder Yi did not get distracted, but continued his careful inspection. After about half an hour, Elder Yi had finished inspecting all the pure elixirs Lin Jing had brought out. After the inspection, Elder Yi first asked Lin Jing, "Have you looked into the price of these elixir medicines before?" Lin Jing nodded and said, "I have indeed done some research." Lin Jing wasn't lying. He had already inquired about the prices of these elixir medicines before he planned to start selling them. Elder Yi nodded and said, "That's good. Since you also know the approximate prices of these elixir medicines, then I'll just tell you directly. The initial valuation I've assessed for these elixir medicines you brought is 1.8 million medium-grade spirit stones. If we deduct a 10% service fee, you should get about 1.62 million medium-grade spirit stones. If you think the price is right, we can make the trade now. If you have any objections to this price, you can also take your elixir medicines and leave at any time." 1.62 million spirit stones was actually not a small amount. Keep in mind that back in the Naming domain, the Zhang family patriarch had nearly exhausted the family's resources to gather 200,000 spirit stones to purchase a single medium-grade lifespan extension pill. And now, Lin Jing would obtain 1.62 million medium-grade spirit stones from selling his elixir medicines. That was 8 times what the Zhang family had saved up before. Of course, these were third-rank pure elixirs. It was quite normal to be able to sell them for such a price. These elixir medicines, if sold elsewhere, they would probably fetch around 1.8 million medium-grade spirit stones, at most not more than 2 million medium-grade spirit stones. And that would also come with the risk of exposure and wasn't very safe. After pondering for a while, Lin Jing nodded and said, "I have no objections to this price." Elder Yi nodded and then asked Lin Jing, "Would you like superior grade spirit stones or medium grade spirit stones? We can make the trade with whichever type of spirit stones you desire." After listening, Lin Jing thought for a moment and then said, "I'll take medium-grade spirit stones." Lin Jing still had some superior-grade spirit stones on him and was not in great need of them. Elder Yi nodded and then directly summoned a female attendant to come in. After the attendant walked in, Elder Yi said, "Fetch 1.62 million medium-grade spirit stones for this friend." "Yes, Elder Yi." The attendant bowed and then withdrew. Less than a quarter of an hour later, the attendant returned. In her hands, she was holding a storage bag. After entering, the attendant went straight to Lin Jing and handed over the storage bag, then said, "Senior, please have a look." Lin Jing nodded, then opened the storage bag and sent his divine sense into it to investigate. Inside the storage bag, stacks of spirit stones were neatly piled up. After counting, Lin Jing confirmed that there were precisely 1,620,000 stones, not one more or less. Having counted them, Lin Jing withdrew his divine sense from the storage bag. He then nodded to Elder Yi. "That's right, 1,620,000 exactly." Elder Yi nodded and said, "Rest assured, our Seven Seas Hall never deceives the young or old. If you have more goods to offer in the future, you're welcome to come again." Lin Jing nodded and then bid farewell to Elder Yi, leaving the Seven Seas Hall. After leaving Seven Seas Hall, Lin Jing found a secluded corner to revert to his original appearance. Then, he headed towards Seven Seas Hall once again. This time, Lin Jing was not there to sell elixir medicine, but to browse and possibly purchase a defensive magical treasure. Upon reaching Seven Seas Hall again, Lin Jing went straight up to the third floor. On this third floor, what was for sale were magical treasures, cultivation techniques, and even elixir medicine materials needed by golden core cultivators. The fourth floor above was specifically for items required by nascent soul cultivators. Since Lin Jing intended to buy golden core magic treasure, there was no need for him to go up any further. In the spacious hall of the third floor, there weren't many people, only about a dozen. Fewer compared to the cultivators on the lower two floors. After all, those who came here were at least of the golden core stage, not something the lower two floors could compare with. These golden core cultivators, either in small groups or alone, were searching for what they needed. Lin Jing directly passed by the counters selling elixir medicine and various materials, heading deeper into the hall. Where magical treasures were sold was at the very back of the hall. Lin Jing approached the counter for magical treasures and examined each one on display. Next to these treasures were detailed descriptions of each, including their functions, materials, and so on. Some even had the name of the artifact refiner who had crafted them, because some artifact refiners had illustrious reputations, and the treasures they crafted were coveted by many. Sometimes, their names alone were like a living signboard. These refiners either cooperated with Seven Seas Hall or directly sold their treasures to it, which would then be resold by Seven Seas Hall. Lin Jing examined these treasures carefully. As he was preparing a defensive magical treasure for Mother Youjiu's tribulation, Lin Jing was only focused on defensive magical treasures. It must be said, the treasures sold by Seven Seas Hall were all quite excellent. However, so were their prices. Take for instance the green gold and red jade shield Lin Jing was currently looking at. It was a superior magical treasure shield, crafted from green gold and red jade, and made by a renowned energy refinement master. Moreover, several fourth-rank formations had been inscribed on the shield by an array master. This green gold and red jade shield fetched a sky-high price of 250,000 medium-grade spirit stones. And then, there was the green jade bead that Lin Jing had seen earlier, another defensive magical treasure, which was similarly priced to the green gold and red jade shield. It was also a superior treasure, marked with a price of 200,000 medium-grade spirit stones. Indeed, these treasures were quite remarkable, but they were not the kind of shields Lin Jing was looking for. Because he needed a defensive magical treasure that could help Mother Youjiu withstand the heavenly tribulation, particularly against lightning or lightning spells. These two treasures lacked such a feature. Lin Jing continued to look further. Finally, at the end of the counter, Lin Jing saw a shield magical treasure that could protect against the heavenly tribulation. But the price tag shocked him. This treasure was listed for 500,000 medium-grade spirit stones. At the moment, in front of the counter stood two other cultivators, shaking their heads at the treasure. One yellow pine cultivator furrowed his brow and said, "This shield is exorbitantly priced." The other red-haired cultivator nodded in agreement, responding, "Treasures capable of withstanding the heavenly tribulation are never cheap." However, the pricing for this one is indeed inflated. The actual value of this shield, at most, should be around 300,000 medium-grade spirit stones. The yellow pine cultivator nodded slightly and said, "Indeed, they only dare to charge so much because of the reputation of Master Qi Yin." The red-haired cultivator continued, "Master Qi Yin is among the most outstanding energy refinement masters in the South Sea, and his crafts are indeed exceptional. Unfortunately, Master Qi Yin seldom agrees to refine treasures for others, and any treasure from his hand is extraordinarily rare. Therefore, some people with ulterior motives deliberately purchase them only to sell an inflated price. Thus, it's also the reason why treasures refined by Master Qi Yin are becoming more and more expensive." Upon finishing, the red-haired cultivator sighed. "Ah, such a pity." The red-haired cultivator nodded and said, "Truly a pity. Lin Jing read the description of this shield, which indeed was refined by the energy refinement master, Master Qi Yan. Lin Jing didn't pay much attention to artifact refiners and naturally didn't know of Master Qi Yan. It seemed that Master Qi Yan must have indeed possessed formidable prowess in artifact refining. Otherwise, those two wouldn't have shown such admiration for him. Despite that, the price of this treasure was truly exorbitant. Just then, the Yellow Pine cultivator spoke again. The Shen family shop's trade fair seems to be starting tonight. Why don't we go take a look? We might encounter some good things at the trade fair. Another red-haired cultivator nodded and said, "That would be nice. I heard that last time. Someone brought a nirvana flower seed, hoping to trade it, but he actually wanted to exchange it for a nirvana elixir, which is ridiculous." The Yellow Pine cultivator said. Indeed, he was really daydreaming. I heard that the same person is here again this time. I would like to see if there really will be someone willing to trade with him. The red-haired cultivator immediately followed up with, "Brotherly, stop joking. What he wants is a nirvana elixir. That's a nirvana elixir we're talking about. How could he possibly exchange it for that nirvana flower seed in his hands? Moreover, there seems to be some problem with that seed. It's questionable whether it can be grown at all. By doing this, does he really think we are fools?" The Yellow Pine cultivator nodded and replied, "Exactly. If anyone really trades with him, they would indeed be a fool." Having said that, the Yellow Pine cultivator changed the subject and spoke again. However, he seems to have a quite impressive defensive magical treasure in his hands, not much inferior to those made by Qi Yan, the true master. As soon as the Yellow Pine cultivator finished speaking, the red-haired cultivator immediately said, "Well, don't even think about that defensive magical treasure in his hands. Many people have approached him, and he has refused to trade. He insists on exchanging for a nirvana elixir." After finishing, the red-haired cultivator shook his head and said, "All right, there's nothing interesting to see here anymore. Let's go." With that, the two prepared to leave. Just at this moment, Lin Jing suddenly stepped in front of the two. He then cupped his fists and said to them, "Fellow cultivators, excuse my interruption." The Yellow Pine cultivator looked Lin Jing over and then asked, "May I ask why you have stopped us, fellow cultivator?" Lin Jing then spoke. "I overheard you mentioning the Shen family shop's trade fair just now. I'm quite interested in this trade fair and would like to attend as well. Is that possible?" Hearing Lin Jing say this, the two cultivators suddenly understood. Then, the Yellow Pine cultivator said to Lin Jing, "I see. The Shen family shop's trade fair is actually organized by the Shen family shop specifically for us Golden Core cultivators as a trading event. At the trade fair, all transactions are free, and if you see something you like, you simply discuss it directly with the owner." Afterward, the red-haired cultivator also chimed in, saying, "You don't need anything special to go to the trade fair. You just need to go to the Shen family shop at the very end of Beihai City's Fong Market before Z-time tonight and state your intention." "Thank you, fellow cultivators," Lin Jing then said, bowing with his hands clasped. "You're welcome," they replied in unison, returning the gesture with a bow. Afterward, the two said their goodbyes to Lin Jing and left the Seven Seas Hall. After the two had left, Lin Jing wandered around the third floor a bit more. Just when he decided to leave, he noticed a counter selling flying boats. So, Lin Jing stopped to take a look. Flying boats, being one of the most important and convenient modes of transportation on the demonic monster sea, are indeed not cheap. The flying boats for sale in the Seven Seas Hall start at a minimum of 1 million medium-grade spirit stones. Even then, this 1 million medium-grade spirit stone flying boat is just the most basic kind. This type of flying boat, whether in terms of speed or defensive capabilities, is much inferior to other flying boats, and those slightly better ones start at a minimum of 2 million medium-grade spirit stones. This isn't even considering the more expensive ones. Lin Jing even saw one large flying boat that was valued at 5 million medium-grade spirit stones. No wonder there aren't many people in the demonic monster sea who own flying boats. Such expensive flying boats are not something many forces can afford. After looking at the flying boats, Lin Jing left the Seven Seas Hall directly. Afterward, He headed straight for Beihai City's Fong Market. Lin Jing had been to Beihai City's Fong Market once before and was quite familiar with the way. Upon arriving inside the market, it was as lively as the last time he had been there. Lin Jing then headed straight inside. The two cultivators of the Seven Seas Hall had mentioned that the Shen family shop was located at the very end of the Fong Market. Lin Jing was now coming over to confirm the location in advance. So, following the streets of the Fong Market, Lin Jing made his way inside. The further he walked, the quieter the streets became. Finally, upon reaching the very end, where there was no one else around, Lin Jing finally saw the Shen family shop. From the outside, the Shen family shop didn't look very big, and there was a wooden signboard hanging above the doorway. The signboard bore the words Shen family shop in large characters. This conspicuous signboard was relatively prominent at the very end of the Fong Market. However, the doors of a Shen family shop were firmly closed, not yet open. Presumably, they would only open when the trade fair began in the evening. The time was still early. The Shen family shop wasn't open yet, and naturally it wasn't convenient for Lin Jing to just wait around here. Therefore, after confirming the location of the Shen family shop, Lin Jing turned around and left the place. After leaving the Shen family shop, Lin Jing walked the streets of Fong Market and thought of Lin Jue. So much time had passed, he had no idea how he was doing now. Following that, Lin Jing casually strolled through the Fong Market while looking for traces of Lin Jue. He had combed through the entire Fong Market without finding any sign of Lin Jue. Even that dark-skinned boy, Lin Jing, did not see him this time either. Fortunately, Lin Jing still remembered the location of Lin Jue's house. Thus, Lin Jing headed towards Lin Jue's house according to his previous memory. The slum of Beihai City was just the same as the last time Lin Jing came, without any change. Perhaps having grown accustomed to it, the cultivators living here didn't find their situation unusual at all. Some even took pride in being able to live in Beihai City. Lin Jue's house was in the very depths of this slum and was among the more dilapidated ones. When Lin Jing arrived at Lin Jue's house, he saw a layer of dust on the doorknob and knew that Lin Jue must have been away for some time. Lin Jing immediately activated his divine sense and probed into Lin Jue's house. The inside of Lin Jue's house was as tidy as ever, just as he had left it. But Lin Jue was not at home. Moreover, a thin layer of dust had settled in the courtyard of Lin Jue's house. Looking at it, he must have been away for some time. If he hasn't returned home, where could he have gone? Lin Jing then furrowed his brows in contemplation. Lin Jue has lived in this Fong Market for so long. He's quite shrewd. He shouldn't have provoked anyone without cause. Moreover, he still has the spirit stones I had previously given him for support. In terms of living expenses, he shouldn't be struggling, and there wouldn't be a lack of spirit stones forcing him to do anything unwillingly. The decorations in his room also prove that he must have been living here until not long ago. It doesn't look like he moved out. If he hasn't moved, why hasn't he returned for so long? And, judging from the dust accumulated in the courtyard, Lin Jue has been away for at least half a month. After pondering for a while, Lin Jing had not a single clue. Afterward, he gave up on contemplating. As a member of the Lin family, Lin Jing naturally could not ignore Lin Jue's disappearance. It seems, after attending the trade meeting, Lin Jing would need to stay in here a few more days to search thoroughly. The inexplicable disappearance of Lin Jue always gave Lin Jing an ominous premonition. He only hoped that nothing unfortunate had happened to him. It wasn't yet Z time in the evening when Lin Jing, dressed up again in disguise as a burly, stout man, came to the Fong Market of Beihai City once more. The Fong Market at late night, the vendors had all packed up and left, and there wasn't a single person in the entire market, making it eerily quiet. Even the shops on both sides of the Fong Market had closed their doors. Lin Jing then directly headed towards the Shen family shop within the Fong Market. He went to the very back of the Fong Market. When Lin Jing looked at the Shen family shop again, the shop's doors were wide open this time. There were also two big red lanterns hanging at the entrance. Subsequently, Lin Jing walked inside the shop. The shop was small. Upon entering, Lin Jing immediately saw a middle-aged cultivator behind the counter, who appeared to be the shopkeeper of the Shen family shop. This shopkeeper was also a golden core cultivator. Furthermore, he was at the golden core late stage. Seeing Lin Jing arrive, the shopkeeper smiled and said directly, "Welcome, fellow Taoist, to our humble shop. May I inquire, what are you looking for?" Lin Jing then replied with a cupped fist salute. "Fellow Taoist, I've heard that the Shen family shop is hosting a trade event, and I've come today specifically to attend this trading session." After hearing this, the shopkeeper sized up Lin Jing up and down, and then replied with a smile. "Ah, so you're here for the trade meeting? My apologies for the oversight." Without further ado, the shopkeeper called over a servant and told the servant, "This Taoist friend is here to attend the trade meeting. Take him to the backyard." "Yes." The servant nodded to the shopkeeper. "Senior, this way, please." Saying thus, the servant then led Lin Jing towards the backyard. Soon, with the servant's guidance, Lin Jing came to the entrance of the backyard. Inside the backyard, right past the entrance, there was a fairly large house. At that time, the servant stood at the entrance and pointed towards the house inside to Lin Jing, saying, "Senior, the fellow Taoists attending the trade meeting are all inside. It's not appropriate for me to enter, so I can only escort you to here." After speaking, the servant bade farewell to Lin Jing and left. Then Lin Jing, upon the servant's departure, walked towards the house inside the backyard. Upon opening the door, several people turned to look over. These individuals, after glancing at Lin Jing and finding him unfamiliar, returned to their own meditations, no longer paying him any attention. Lin Jing then found a corner to sit down. After sitting down, he began to take in the entire room. This room was unlike ordinary rooms. Below, numerous tables and chairs were neatly arranged, and in the center of the room was a high platform. The layout of the entire room resembled that of a venue specially designed for trading events. At this moment, scattered throughout the venue were about a dozen cultivators. When those people had been paying attention to Lin Jing just now, Lin Jing had likewise glanced over them. The cultivation levels of these people varied, and there were even demon cultivators and demon cultivators among them. There were even some whose cultivation Lin Jing could not discern, which suggested they must have concealed their abilities. Afterward, Lin Jing waited for some more time. Subsequently, several more people arrived one after another, until finally, there were about 20 cultivators present in the room. Lin Jing even spotted the 2 cultivators he had encountered earlier that day. These 2 were now greeting another cultivator, which suggested that the 3 of them were probably acquainted with each other. Once everyone had arrived, the time also reached tea time. Just then, the shopkeeper who had been outside in the store earlier came in. As soon as he arrived, several people stood up to greet the shopkeeper. It seemed that these people were not first-timers here and were familiar with the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper smiled and responded to each of them in turn. Following that, the shopkeeper walked straight to the high platform in the center of the room. He then opened his mouth, addressing everyone. "Welcome, fellow Taoists, to the small trading event hosted by our shop. This trading event has many familiar faces, of course, and also a few newcomers attending for the first time." Having said that, the shopkeeper turned his head to look at Lin Jing and a few other cultivators. He then nodded to them. Lin Jing and the others also nodded slightly in response. Following this, the shopkeeper continued. "The purpose of our shop's trading event is to promote exchange between fellow Taoists and, of course, to trade what we each need the most." After finishing, the shopkeeper looked toward Lin Jing and a few others, then added, "Some Taoists are here for the first time and might not be familiar with everything. Let me give you a brief introduction to our trading event. Our trading event is simply to provide a convenient place for you all and does not charge any fees. You can rest assured, fellow Taoists. This rule is well known to the old friends who often come to participate in the trading event." As the shopkeeper said this, many cultivators below nodded in agreement. The shopkeeper then continued. "Shortly, if anyone has treasures they wish to trade, they can come up on stage to display them, stating what they want in exchange. As long as both parties are satisfied, the trade can be completed." "All right, that's enough talk. You may begin." Having said that, the shopkeeper stepped down from the platform. After the shopkeeper descended, an old man with a stooped back and a walking cane went up on the platform. Although the old man seemed frail and elderly, there was a faint hint of demonic qi emanating from his body. Clearly, this elder was a demon cultivator who practiced the demonic path technique. However, by his appearance, he did not seem like one of those extremely bloodthirsty types. This was actually not unusual. Not all demon cultivators were bloodthirsty and cruel by nature. Some demonic path techniques were more moderate. Those who practiced such techniques might have demonic qi, but were much like ordinary cultivators. Another type of demonic path technique was more aggressive. These practitioners' demonic techniques were often harmful to the heavens, and they might even consume cultivators to bolster their own cultivation. These individuals were typically the cruel and bloodthirsty kind. The elder on stage was obviously of the former type. After stepping onto the stage, he chuckled and then spoke. Fellow Taoists, without further ado, I wish to use this object in my hand in exchange for a divine sense technique. As he spoke, he lifted the object in his hand for all to see clearly. Immediately, someone exclaimed, "It's actually a fourth-rank spirit plant, Jade Heart Vine." Another person, upon seeing it clearly, also added in a low voice, This Jade Heart Vine looks like it was harvested not long ago and is still quite intact. But to exchange it for a divine sense technique, I doubt that will be easy." The elder on the platform paid no attention to the various discussions below, simply maintaining a smile while looking at the crowd. After a moment, a middle-aged cultivator stood up and addressed the elder on stage. "I have a divine sense technique, though it is somewhat incomplete, only cultivable up to the golden core stage. If fellow Taoist agrees to the exchange, we can trade right away." After hearing this, the elder shook his head. Clearly, he was not very satisfied with the incomplete divine sense technique. Then, another voice rang out, and a young cultivator stood up. "I have a superior defensive magical treasure that I'd like to exchange for your Jade Heart Vine. I wonder if fellow Taoist would be willing." However, the elder shook his head, saying, "I only want a divine sense technique. I will not exchange for anything else." Upon hearing this, the young cultivator said no more and simply sat back down. Then, after a while, there was no second offer. Clearly, the trade was about to fall through. The elder sighed helplessly at the sight. "My fellow Taoists, if anyone has a divine sense technique, please don't hide it. If you think this Jade Heart Creeper is not enough, I can add some spirit stones or other treasures." After the elder's words fell, there was another round of murmuring below, but still, no one stood up. Clearly, this divine sense technique was not so easy to obtain. It seemed that none of these people had it on them. Or perhaps they simply did not want to take it out. And Lin Jing was among them. Lin Jing obtained the Tao Transformation Divinity technique on Immortal Crossing Island before, which was a divine sense technique. But the Tao Transformation Divinity technique, just like the Overlord Divine Physique, was one of the top cultivation techniques in the cultivation world. Naturally, Lin Jing could not possibly take it out for an exchange. After a while, when no one else stood up, the shopkeeper by the side asked, "Does this Taoist have any other items he wishes to exchange?" The elder shook his head and said, "No." The shopkeeper continued, "In that case, it seems that none of our friends present today have a divine sense technique. So please wait for the next opportunity." The elder nodded, then stepped down from a stage and returned to his seat to sit down. After the elder stepped down, another cultivator went up to the stage. This cultivator went straight to the point after getting on stage and directly took out a magical treasure, flying sword, and then said to the others, "I will exchange this flying sword in my hand for a formation to guard a dwelling." Having said that, he began to introduce the flying sword in his hand. This flying sword, called Night Wasteland, is a superior magical treasure made from. The cultivator gave a detailed introduction. A moment later, after the cultivator finished presenting, a woman cultivator wearing a black veil immediately stood up. She then said, "I do have a formation here that is quite suitable for defending a dwelling." Having said this, she also took out a few formation flags and began introducing them. In the end, both parties were very satisfied and successfully completed the transaction. After the two completed their transaction, the cultivator stepped down from the stage and another cultivator went up. In this manner, each person who went up on the stage would present precious magical treasures, materials, elixir medicines, and the like for display. The people below would then trade with those on stage based on their own needs. And Lin Jing sat quietly in the corner, watching. He never made a move. Although some of the items displayed on stage did pique Lin Jing's interest, they were not essential to him. So, Lin Jing never made a move. Soon, several cultivators had displayed their treasures they wished to exchange. On stage was the red-haired cultivator Lin Jing had encountered before at the Seven Seas Hall. He had just come down from the stage. He too had gotten what he wished, exchanging a cultivation technique for a defensive magical treasure he needed. After the red-haired cultivator stepped down, another person went up. This person was dressed in black and had a cold expression, exuding an extremely cool demeanor. Moreover, his cultivation was not low, actually at the Golden Core peak. After getting on stage, he did not engage in any other conversation. He directly took out a miniature silver-white flying boat, a seed, and a defensive magical treasure. Lin Jing's gaze was immediately attracted to that seed, because it was a seed of the nirvana flower. However, this nirvana flower seed was not whole, lacking a small part. Then, the person directly said, "No need to talk much. This flying boat, named Shadow Escape, and this nirvana flower seed plus this thundershock shield in my hand, I will exchange these three items for a nirvana elixir of at least medium-grade quality." When this cultivator took the stage, the audience began murmuring to each other. Lin Jing perked up his ears, listening to their conversations. From their talks, Lin Jing learned that this person was the one the red-haired cultivator had mentioned before, the one who wanted to acquire the nirvana elixir. When he presented these items, the cultivators below immediately erupted into excitement. Suddenly, someone exclaimed, "Wow, the Shadow Escape flying boat. I remember that's a flying magical treasure of an extremely mysterious nascent soul, true monarch. How did it end up in his hands?" Exactly, the Shadow Escape flying boat is very famous. It's said that in terms of speed, it ranks within the top 10 that are known in the southern outer seas. Moreover, the Shadow Escape flying boat also has a decent defensive capability and that unique stealth function. If we really talk about practicality, even if it doesn't compare to the Nirvana elixir, it's not far off. Someone similarly agreed. Indeed, the value of this Shadow Escape flying boat is indeed considerable. If it were auctioned, it might even be more expensive than the Nirvana elixir. After the cultivator's words fell, someone immediately expressed a different opinion. Though the Shadow Escape flying boat is excellent, that Nirvana elixir is not so easy to obtain. It's unusual to see one in tens of years, and even if it does appear, it's targeted by the major powers, leaving none for us. For us loose cultivators, who knows how many years of effort it would take to collect the ingredients for a batch to refine the Nirvana elixir. And even so, success in refining it is not guaranteed. If someone has a Nirvana elixir, who wouldn't keep it for themselves to consume? How could they possibly trade it away? No matter how powerful a magical treasure is, can it compare to the importance of one's own strength increasing? At this point, he suddenly changed his tone and continued to speak. Unless someone has more than one Nirvana elixir, only in that case would they take out a medium-grade Nirvana elixir to trade for this Shadow Escape flying boat. Then, another person similarly agreed and said, "That's also true. Who would exchange a chance to break through to the nascent soul stage for a flying magical treasure? Unless they already have nascent soul cultivation and have no need for a Nirvana elixir, or they have more than one Nirvana elixir." While everyone was discussing fervently, another young cultivator attending this trading assembly for the first time asked the person beside him, "But what kind of magical treasure is that thundershock shield?" He didn't give an introduction, did he? The cultivator beside him then explained. He already introduced it once during the last trading assembly. You weren't here last time, so naturally, you don't know. That Thunder Shock Shield is also a decent medium-grade magical treasure, and moreover, the shield is made of thunderwood, providing protection against the force of thunder, making it quite suitable for helping juniors to overcome their tribulation. Upon hearing this, the young cultivator who was new instantly understood and said, I see. However, the combined value of these 3 items is not low. Trading them for a Nirvana elixir shouldn't be a problem, right? The person beside him disdained and said, Forget it. Apart from that shadow escape flying boat, the others aren't much to look at. That Nirvana flower seed seems precious, but a big piece is missing. Someone checked it last time. The inside of the seed has decayed. It can't grow. Furthermore, that Thunder Shock Shield is just a medium-grade magical treasure, only useful for withstanding the Golden Core tribulation, similarly not very valuable. You could say, aside from a shadow escape flying boat, the other 2 items are just additions and can be completely disregarded. So that's how it is. Thank you, fellow Taoist, for clearing up my confusion. The young man responded with a hand salute. It's nothing. The cultivator beside him waved his hand in dismissal. At this moment, the black-clothed cultivator above surveyed the crowd below. Yet not a single person stood up. Initially, Lin Jing had planned to use the medium-grade Nirvana elixir he had on hand to make the exchange. If it were the flying boat or the Nirvana flower seed, they would both be incredibly useful to him, not to mention the magical treasure Thundershock Shield. But after listening to the conversation of those people just now, Lin Jing dismissed the idea, because doing so would draw too much attention to himself. As a Golden Core early-stage cultivator, taking out a Nirvana elixir to exchange for the Shadow Escape flying boat would undoubtedly raise suspicions. After a moment of contemplation, Lin Jing decided to wait and not approach him for a trade just yet. Instead, he planned to find him for a private exchange after the man had left. Time passed, and still, no one made a move. The black-clothed cultivator also coldly packed up all his belongings. To the outcome, neither the black-clothed cultivator nor the crowd below found it surprising. After all, it was a Nirvana elixir, and all those participating in the trading assembly were Golden Core cultivators, who typically wouldn't trade their Nirvana elixirs if they had them. One cultivator left the platform, and several others went up in succession. Even the young cultivator who was new took the stage. Once on stage, he directly took out an unremarkable flying sword and a broken spirit plant root. I wish to use this superior grade flying sword and the rootstock of the 1,000 Spirits Divine Leaf to exchange for 2 pure essence enriching elixirs. After speaking, he picked up the flying sword to show everyone. This superior grade flying sword, known as the Soaring Ancient Sword, was crafted by the Energy Refinement Master Lin Jue. Shortly after, he finished introducing the Soaring Ancient Sword, and then picked up the 1,000 Spirits Divine Leaf rootstock to introduce it. This rootstock of the 1,000 Spirits Divine Leaf, I wrested at the risk of my life from the maw of a nascent soul, demonic beast. As everyone can see, the rootstock is incomplete, having been nibbled on by that demonic beast, and most of its medicinal efficacy has been lost. Thus, I consider this rootstock of the 1,000 Spirits Divine Leaf as an extra, paired with the Soaring Ancient Sword, to exchange for 2 pure essence enriching elixirs. No sooner had the young cultivator finished speaking than people below immediately began to discuss it. They were all talking about the Soaring Ancient Sword, but no one seemed interested in the 1,000 Spirits Divine Leaf rootstock. Time passed, and not a soul took the initiative to speak up. Just when the young cultivator thought no one would speak up and was preparing to step down, Lin Jing, sitting in the very back corner, finally spoke up at this moment. That Soaring Ancient Sword, along with the remnant root of the 1,000 Spirits Divine Leaf, I'll take them. His words made all the cultivators in the room turn their heads to look at him. At hearing this, the young cultivator on stage was overjoyed. To confirm, he even asked specifically once more, Fellow Taoist, are you planning to use 2 pure essence enriching elixirs to exchange for my Soaring Ancient Sword and this remnant root of the Thousand Spirits Divine Leaf. Lin Jing then nodded and said, "Yes." Having said that, Lin Jing didn't waste any time and directly took out 2 pure jade boxes from his storage bag. Inside the pure jade boxes, 2 pure elixirs shone with a captivating light. Even before they were opened, everyone could already see that these were indeed pure primordial growth elixirs. Upon seeing the pure primordial growth elixirs, there were immediately those who expressed their regret. Pure primordial growth elixirs, they'd be so good for enhancing one's own strength. However, someone immediately voiced their opinion. "I think trading the primordial growth elixirs for the soaring ancient sword would be more worthwhile. After all, having a good magical treasure can also significantly increase one's combat power." Moreover, there were others who spoke up. "The soaring ancient sword is indeed not bad. Exchanging it for 2 pure primordial growth elixirs is appropriate. It's just a matter of different needs." The crowd below was buzzing with discussion, but not a single person mentioned the Thousand Spirit Divine Leaf Remnant Root. Although the Thousand Spirit Divine Leaf is a 4th-rank spirit plant, the one at hand was only its rhizome. And what's more, it was an incomplete remnant root. Even if one had a high-level spirit field, it wouldn't be possible to cultivate. In the eyes of others, this remnant root wasn't of much value. It was almost fitting to give it away as an extra. However, in Lin Jing's eyes, that Thousand Spirit Divine Leaf Remnant Root was much more precious than the soaring ancient sword. Even though it was a remnant root, in Lin Jing's eyes, its value was not much different from a complete rhizome. After all, his system space had a spiritual plant restoration function. With just the expenditure of some harvest points, he could completely repair the rhizome. In time, he could plant this spirit plant himself, and then he would own a complete Thousand Spirit Divine Leaf. Next, the young cultivator descended from the stage and came in front of Lin Jing. Subsequently, both parties examined the items they were about to trade in detail, and once both had finished their inspections and confirmed everything was correct, they exchanged their items, completing the deal. After the two had completed their deal, another 2 individuals went up. The 2 cultivators showcased their treasures for trade. Both of these individuals were lucky and completed their deals, acquiring the things they desired. Once their transactions were done, only Lin Jing was left who hadn't gone up. When the crowd looked towards Lin Jing, he declined to go on stage using the fact that he had already completed his trade as a reason. The crowd didn't say anything more. Soon after, the shopkeeper took to the stage and announced the successful conclusion of the trade meet. As the trade meeting came to an end and the crowd began to stir, preparing to leave, the shopkeeper called out to them at that moment. "Everyone, do not be hasty. Please wait for a moment." The crowd looked up, all eyeing the shopkeeper with curiosity. At this time, some cultivators who were familiar with the shopkeeper asked, "Shopkeeper Shen, is there something else?" The shopkeeper then spoke. "Indeed, there is one more matter I would like to discuss with all the fellow cultivators. You can rest assured, fellow cultivators, it is a good thing." Upon hearing it was a good thing, some cultivators immediately became interested. The shopkeeper then directly said, "Fellow cultivators, do not rush to leave. Please hear what Shen has to say. If Shen's good news interests you, then let us remain here to discuss it together. If you genuinely have no interest, then you may leave at that time." After the shopkeeper finished speaking, even those who were not very interested halted their departure and sat back down, waiting quietly for the shopkeeper to continue. By this time, a number of cultivators familiar with the shopkeeper also spoke up. "Shopkeeper Shen, you're the one who said this. Shopkeeper Shen, with you mentioning it like that, now I'm interested and want to see what this good thing really is. Shopkeeper Shen, don't keep us in suspense, just say it directly." And the shopkeeper responded to several people with a smile. Seeing this situation, Lin Jing turned his head to look at the black-robed cultivator. He also did not appear to have any intention of leaving. Thus, Lin Jing too settled back into his seat, no longer in a hurry to depart. Once everyone had taken their seats again, the shopkeeper spoke. "Everyone, I wonder, have any of you heard of Lin Jue?" Upon hearing the shopkeeper's words, a shiver went through Lin Jing's heart. He immediately thought, could it be that the shopkeeper's news has something to do with Lin Jue? But wasn't Li Mingwu said to have died hundreds of years ago? On the surface, however, Lin Jing showed no reaction. At that moment, a cultivator raised a question. Li Mingwu. Is it Li Mingwu, the previous island master of Youjiu Island? But wasn't he said to have died centuries ago? Could it be that he is not dead and is still alive? Lin Jing had the same doubts. And it wasn't just Lin Jing alone. Being seated at the back corner made it easy for Lin Jing to observe the actions of the cultivators in front. As soon as that cultivator suggested that Li Mingwu might still be alive, many people in the audience straightened up unconsciously, all turning their attention to the shopkeeper on the stage. Clearly, they too were quite concerned about the life and death of Li Mingwu. Shopkeeper Shen then waved his hand and said with a smile, "Fellow Taoist is joking. It's true that Li Mingwu was extraordinary, but he did not break through to a realm above divinity transformation. He perished long ago, several hundred years past, and it is impossible for him to be alive. What I'm about to discuss has some connection to him, which is why I asked." No wonder. Having heard Shopkeeper Shen's words, many relaxed slightly. At that moment, someone else raised a question. Shopkeeper Shen mentioned Li Mingwu specifically. May I ask what matters related to him? Shopkeeper Shen then continued. This matter is actually a secret. Recently, I've come across some clues, and through these clues, I've learned about one thing. While Li Mingwu was alive, he once strayed into an ancient relic, and in that place, he encountered some fortuitous adventures. Because of this, his cultivation later soared rapidly, allowing him to become the island master of Youjiu Island. As soon as Shopkeeper Shen finished speaking, someone immediately raised an objection. That's impossible. Legend has it that Li Mingwu had excellent aptitude, and thus he was able to break through smoothly and advance to the divinity transformation stage. Yes, I've heard about that too. Another person chimed in agreement. While the rest did not voice their opinions explicitly, they nodded slightly when doubts were raised, showing agreement. The reason was that Li Mingwu was too famous, and he had disappeared for only a few hundred years. Therefore, the details of Li Mingwu's life were easy to investigate. Many among those who were participating in the trade meeting were likely well-versed in Li Mingwu's history. Thus, all eyes turned to Shopkeeper Shen, awaiting his explanation. Facing the doubts raised by others, Shopkeeper Shen did not argue, but instead started speaking with a smile. Of course, you must also know, Li Mingwu indeed had excellent aptitude, and you couldn't believe he attained the divinity transformation stage solely through some fortuitous adventure. Following that, Shopkeeper Shen scanned the crowd before saying, "But what I'm going to tell you is that he indeed advanced to the divinity transformation stage because of a fortuitous adventure." At this point, before anyone could interject with doubts, Shopkeeper Shen continued. "The reason I say this is because the chance encounter he had was with a mysterious fruit." As the words "mysterious fruit" were spoken, the crowd collectively gasped in astonishment. This mysterious fruit. Shopkeeper Shen, the mysterious fruit is no trivial matter. Are you certain about this? Straight away, a cultivator questioned Shopkeeper Shen. The others, just as earnestly, listened in. After all, the mysterious fruit was something of legends. It was said that the mysterious fruit could defy the heavens and alter fate, forcibly elevating one's spiritual root aptitude. It was an extremely rare heavenly spirit fruit. Within the demonic monster sea, many top-tier forces sought it desperately, but in vain. Even in the bounty hall, the offers to purchase a mysterious fruit have reached the astonishing price of 10 million superior grade spirit stones. Yet even with such offers, not a single mysterious fruit could be procured. This demonstrated just how rare the mysterious fruit truly was. If Li Mingwu's fortuitous encounter was indeed with a mysterious fruit, then everything could be explained. Because, according to the records, Li Mingwu's spiritual root aptitude was of the kind that defied the heavens, allowing his cultivation to soar at breakneck speed straight into the divinity transformation stage. Shopkeeper Shen nodded and stated, Of course. Have you heard of Lin Jing, the true lord? A few cultivators immediately nodded in agreement. Shopkeeper Shen then proceeded to say, "It is said that Lin Jing, the true lord, was silenced by Lin Jue because he had uncovered this secret. Unbelievable. Lin Jing, the true lord, should be a figure from 2,000 years ago, right? Moreover, Lin Jing, the true lord, was already a nascent soul cultivator 2,000 years ago. Even if Lin Jue wanted to harm him, it wouldn't be easy." Shopkeeper Shen then smiled coldly and replied, "Of course it was easy, because at that time, Lin Jing, the true lord, was extremely close to Lin Jue, harboring no defenses against him at all. Thus, Lin Jue was able to use despicable means to secretly eliminate Lin Jing, the true lord." Lin Jing was shocked upon hearing this. The message he gathered from Lin Jing, the true lord's last words, was similar to what the shopkeeper knew. But how did Shopkeeper Shen come to know this information? Soon after, someone raised a question. "Shopkeeper Shen, you say Lin Jue secretly eliminated Lin Jing, the true lord. But how do you know of such an ancient matter?" "Yes, Shopkeeper Shen. How did you come to learn about such a secret piece of information?" Shopkeeper Shen answered, "Because when Lin Jing, the true lord, was eliminated, an ancestor of our Shen family was involved. However, following the incident, this ancestor of ours was dealt with and also met a tragic end at the hands of Lin Jue. Fortunately, he had foreseen his fate, and realizing he could not escape, he had already made arrangements, secretly sending his offspring away. Only recently, from an heirloom left by my ancestor, did I uncover this secret. And furthermore, within my ancestor's heirloom, I also found the location of that ancient relic." The statements by Shopkeeper Shen ignited excitement among most people in the room. Of course, this group of excited individuals naturally did not include Lin Jing. Lin Jing learned from the testament of Lin Jing, the true sage, that to enter the relic site, it was necessary to gather all five elements command tokens. And one of those tokens was now in Lin Jing's possession. Was this Shopkeeper Shen planning to reveal the location of that ancient relic? Lin Jing couldn't help but doubt what the real intentions of Shopkeeper Shen were. Scanning the room, Lin Jing noticed that the cultivators had different reactions upon hearing about the relic. Some were worried, while others were excited. Even more, like Lin Jing, were skeptical. Besides, there was one person who seemed wholly uninterested in everything that was happening. This disinterested individual was the same black-robed cultivator who had wanted to exchange for the Nirvana elixir earlier. At the moment, he was leaning in a corner opposite Lin Jing, silently observing the crowd, saying nothing. Then, another cultivator familiar with Shopkeeper Shen eagerly asked, "Shopkeeper Shen, by revealing all this, could it be that you intend to lead us to explore that relic site?" Shopkeeper Shen nodded before replying, "Yes. I want to take you all to explore the relic site together." At this point, Shopkeeper Shen paused, then continued, "I'm sure everyone is very curious. Since I found out the location of this relic, why not go by myself instead of sharing this information with everyone?" The crowd also looked up at Shopkeeper Shen. They were just as curious, knowing that the fewer people aware of the relic, the better. Yet Shopkeeper Shen did the opposite, telling everyone present about it directly. They also wanted to hear Shopkeeper Shen's explanation. Scanning the crowd, Shopkeeper Shen said, "Actually, the reason I'm doing this is that the relic site cannot be opened through the efforts of one person alone. By myself, I simply can't open it. That's why I'm inviting all fellow Taoists to go together." Upon hearing Shopkeeper Shen's explanation, everyone suddenly came to a realization. No wonder. That explained it. Then, Shopkeeper Shen continued, "Moreover, the relic is extremely dangerous, but if we really manage to open and enter it, I'm sure the rewards will be substantial. The reason I asked you all to stay is to invite you to open the relic with me and equally share the treasures inside. I wonder if all of you are willing." Having finished speaking, Shopkeeper Shen surveyed everyone present. Immediately, some people couldn't hold back and said, "With a relic emerging, of course, we are willing to take the challenge." However, there were also those who thought more deeply. "Shopkeeper Shen, Are you sure that there are a great number of heavenly materials and earthly treasures inside the relic? And is it really as dangerous as you say it is inside the relic? Additionally, the most crucial point is, can we really open the relic? After listening, Shopkeeper Shen responded, according to my ancestors' records, Lin Jing didn't stay long after entering the relic and soon came out. Therefore, there must still be many areas inside the relic that have not been explored. The treasures within the relic need no further elaboration. Pausing for a moment, Shopkeeper Shen then continued. Another point, being a relic, it will certainly involve risks. I will explain this beforehand. As to whether we can open the relic, I have no absolute certainty. I can only say the more people we have, the better. Based on the clues provided by my ancestors, to open the entrance to the relic, we need a large amount of spiritual power. If that's not enough, we have to find others to invite them to explore the relic with us. Upon hearing this, some people were immediately opposed. I think just us here are enough. There's no need to find others. Yes, I think so too. At this point, Shopkeeper Shen spoke up again, addressing everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, you all must know, exploring a relic is likely to result in casualties. If anyone is unwilling to go, we will not force you. You may leave directly. No sooner had Shopkeeper Shen's words fallen than someone spoke up. Where does Shopkeeper Shen get this idea? Exploring a relic naturally involves dangers. From the moment we embarked on the path of cultivation, our fate was no longer our own. How can we get heavenly materials and earthly treasures without taking some risks? If I should perish for it, there's no one to blame. Indeed, to seek fortune, one naturally has to take risks. Shopkeeper Shen, where exactly is the relic located? Raising his hand to stop everyone's words, Shopkeeper Shen then said to the person, to prevent anyone from leaking information, I will not disclose the relic's location for now. Once everyone agrees, I will share the location. After finishing, Shopkeeper Shen gave the crowd another look and said, everyone, are you all willing to accompany Shopkeeper Shen to explore that relic? Many in the crowd began to shout. Of course. Naturally, we all are willing. I'm willing too. For a moment, the crowd was filled with voices of agreement. Next, Shopkeeper Shen looked down at the audience and said, ladies and gentlemen, this trip to the relic is completely voluntary. If anyone is unwilling to go, you may say so openly. Lin Jing's brows immediately furrowed. He had the illusion of being coerced by the situation. He glanced at the people in front, realizing that apart from those who were excited, there were also several cultivators with furrowed brows who seemed to have reservations. Just then, an untimely voice came from a corner. I'm not going. Though the voice wasn't loud, it struck like thunder, quieting the previously noisy crowd. The crowd turned back, looking in the direction the voice had come from. Lin Jing did the same, turning his head toward the source of the voice. In the corner, the man in black who wanted to purchase the Nirvana elixir was staring coldly at Shopkeeper Shen on the platform. Seeing him, the others immediately calmed down, because this person possessed cultivation at the Golden Core Peak, which was higher than all of theirs, and they didn't dare say anything rashly for the moment. Just as everyone was hesitating, another voice came from a different corner. I'm not going either. This time, the one who shouted this was Lin Jing. Seeing the man in black taking the lead, Lin Jing naturally took this opportunity to express his opinion. However, just as Lin Jing's words fell, another person spoke up, saying, then, I won't go either. The one who said this was the young cultivator who had traded the flying sword with Lin Jing, and it was also his first time participating in the trade conference. At this point, unrest began to spread among the crowd. By now, discontent had also started to arise. We had already agreed. Why aren't they going? Exactly. That's an ancient relic. There could be many precious treasures inside, and it's not impossible for another reversal fruit to appear. Do they really not feel tempted? As the discontented voices grew louder, the crowd began to ostracize the three of them. Gentlemen, quiet. It was at this moment that Shopkeeper Shen spoke up. Hearing Shopkeeper Shen's words, everyone fell silent. Shopkeeper Shen then looked at Lin Jing and the other two. I wonder if the three of you have any concerns about not wanting to go to the relic? And the man in black directly spoke out. There's nothing I need inside that relic. Going in would just be a waste of time. The crowd immediately understood that this person must be close to advancing to nascent soul, lacking only the nirvana elixir, which was certainly not going to be found inside the relic. That's why the man in black said that going into the relic would only be a waste of time. After hearing this, Shopkeeper Shen nodded his head. Then, he turned to look at Lin Jing. The crowd followed Shopkeeper Shen's gaze, looking at Lin Jing, waiting for his explanation. Lin Jing then spoke bluntly. I am an alchemist. I don't need to explore relics to obtain the cultivation resources I want. As Lin Jing's words fell, the crowd began to stir once again. Alchemists can't just say they don't lack cultivation resources. Another person retorted. That's not necessarily true. Some alchemists really don't need to go out and find resources themselves, like those from the Longyun Elixir Pavilion. If you mention Longyun Elixir Pavilion, I believe it. But can he compare to them? You two stop arguing. At this level, anyone who dares to call themselves an alchemist definitely has some extraordinary alchemy Dao cultivation, indicating he is at least a third-rank alchemist. And fourth-rank alchemist is not out of the question. Don't forget, he just took out 2 pure essence pills just now. The rewards they get from a single round of alchemy are worth what we strive for a long time. You all don't need to bother. That makes sense. The other two nodded and then fell silent. Next, Shopkeeper Shen spoke, smiling as he said to Lin Jing, Fellow Taoist, I had no idea you were an alchemist. That was rather disrespectful of me. Since that's the case, as an alchemist, you indeed don't need to risk your life going there. After finishing, everyone turned to the last person who refused, that is, the young cultivator. Fellow Taoist, not sure why you want to give up such a good opportunity. Could it be that you are also an alchemist? Shopkeeper Shen asked the young cultivator. The young cultivator shook his head and said, I just advanced a golden core not long ago, and I feel that my strength is insufficient. I will not be participating in this relic expedition. As soon as the young man's words fell, the crowd immediately started to murmur again. Right then, someone scornfully said, A cultivator who is so afraid of death. How can they achieve anything great? Really, I don't know how he managed to cultivate to his current level. So timid. Back in the day, just for cultivation resources, I don't know how many times I've risked my life to achieve my current cultivation. I can only say, he is really lucky. The crowd was talking at once, full of mockery. And the young man, probably having never encountered such things before, was blushing with ears red. But he kept his head down, not retorting a word. It was in this moment that Shopkeeper Shen stopped several people's words, then looked at the young man and asked, Are you sure you want to give up entering the relic? The young cultivator lifted his head, his eyes resolute, and said, I am sure. Seeing how firm he was, no one said anything further. Afterwards, Shopkeeper Shen nodded, then said, If you do not wish to go to the relic, you are naturally free to leave. Yet at this moment, others started to show their dissatisfaction. They can't be allowed to leave. What if they leak the news? Exactly, they can't be let go. If the information really gets out, we can't afford that. Actually, let them leave if they must, but let them swear an oath with their soul spirits, ensuring they won't leak this news. Indeed, then someone began to shout, Shopkeeper Shen, make them swear an oath with their soul spirits, to keep the relic's secrets before letting them go. Yes, yes. Afterward, all the cultivators agreed and began to pressure the 3 of them. However, just when these people were still causing chaos and pressuring Lin Jing and the other 2, the man in black grew furious. The aura of his golden core, peak cultivation, burst forth in an instant, pressing down on the crowd as he spoke coldly. What? Do you really intend to forcefully keep me here? Knowing full well that I am about to face the heavenly tribulation, yet you still want me to swear by my soul spirit. Do you wish to see me perish during the tribulation? As the man in black spoke, his eyes were cold, sweeping across the crowd. Seeing the situation, everyone immediately calmed down. Still, someone was dissatisfied with the man in black and muttered under their breath, It's just a soul spirit oath. What does it matter as long as you don't reveal it? After hearing this, the man in black's eyes narrowed, and he turned his gaze toward the person who had just spoken. His violent aura burst out instantly, pressing down on the person who had spoken. At the same time, he had already summoned a magical treasure flying sword that emitted a dark light, pointing directly at the person who had spoken. Seeing that the man in black wanted to take action, Shopkeeper Shen quickly stepped in to mediate, reminding, "Fellow Taoists, do not be impulsive. This is Bihai City, and if a fight really breaks out, I'm afraid none of us will end up well off. As for swearing an oath by your soul spirit, let's forget about it." Having said that, he turned to address everyone. This fellow Taoist is about to undergo his tribulation. Before that happens, he cannot be affected in the slightest, let alone swear an oath by his soul spirit. I believe they will certainly not reveal this matter. Then, Shopkeeper Shen turned to the man in black and said, "I trust, fellow Taoist, that you will certainly not disclose this matter, right?" Seeing Shopkeeper Shen speak this way, the man in black finally retracted his violent aura and replied coldly, "I disdain to stoop to such petty actions." Shopkeeper Shen nodded, not saying anything further, then turned to look at Lin Jing. Lin Jing naturally understood the intention of Shopkeeper Shen and then said, "Shopkeeper Shen, rest assured, if we spoke out, it would only bring us unnecessary trouble. I certainly wouldn't do such an unwise thing. Moreover, we don't even know the location of the relic. Even if we did speak out, I doubt anyone would believe us." No sooner had Lin Jing finished speaking than the young cultivator also spoke up. "I will do the same. I absolutely won't reveal it." Seeing that everyone had said as much, Shopkeeper Shen, smiling, said to the three of them, "All right, I trust you. You may go now." Afterward, the man in black immediately turned around and left the room. Just then, there was a disturbance in the crowd again, and someone seemed about to say something more, but was stopped by a look from Shopkeeper Shen. And Lin Jing, after bidding farewell to Shopkeeper Shen, followed the steps of the man in black and left the place. After the two had stepped out of the room, it wasn't long before the young cultivator caught up with them. In this manner, the three of them left the Shen family shop together. As soon as they returned to Fong Market, the young cultivator said to Lin Jing and the man in black, "Both of you, thank you. Without you two, I fear I would have had trouble leaving the Shen family shop today." At this time, the man in black said, "Those people, there's something not right about them. You two had better be careful." The young cultivator bowed and said to the man in black, "Thank you for the warning, fellow Taoist. I will certainly be cautious. Fellow Taoists, I will take my leave now. Goodbye." After saying this, the young cultivator left. Once the young cultivator had gone, only Lin Jing and the man in black were left. At this moment, the man in black turned his head towards Lin Jing and saw that he had no intention of leaving. He thus spoke, "What? Aren't you leaving as well?" However, Lin Jing in turn said to the man in black, "I'd like to make a trade with you." The man in black frowned, looked Lin Jing up and down, and then asked, "You? What trade do you intend to make with me?" Lin Jing replied, "This is not quite the right place. Shall we find somewhere suitable to talk?" At that moment, the two were still standing on the main street of Fong Market in Bihai City. The man in black then looked around. After a moment, he nodded and said to Lin Jing, "I know a place. Follow me." And so, the man in black led Lin Jing around Bihai City for quite a while. It wasn't until half an hour later that the two found an inn that was still open for business. The man in black led Lin Jing directly into the inn. The innkeeper was not there, but a night shift worker welcomed them. The man in black directly rented a room and then led Lin Jing inside it. Upon entering the room, a formation was immediately activated, enveloping the entire room. Then, the man in black spoke to Lin Jing. "Don't worry, it's safe here. The innkeeper is a nascent soul cultivator, and no one dares to cause trouble here. Now you can speak. What trade do you want to make with me?" Lin Jing didn't dawdle and promptly said, "I have a medium-grade nirvana elixir." Lin Jing's words took the man in black by surprise. His eyes shone brightly as he stared at Lin Jing and said, Is that true? Lin Jing then took out a beautifully crafted jade box from his storage bag and placed it on the table. This jade box, specifically for holding high-grade elixir medicines, also has the function of preventing the loss of spiritual power, similar to the pure jade box. Of course, what's more important is that it looks good. After all, these are precious high-grade elixir medicines. They can no longer be stored in small jade bottles. Otherwise, it would greatly reduce the value. After taking out the jade box, Lin Jing said, "Just like before at the Fong market, I'd like to trade this medium-grade Nirvana elixir for the 3 items you showed earlier. I wonder, would you be willing?" The man in black nodded and said, "Of course, there's no problem. I had intended to trade those 3 items for a medium-grade Nirvana elixir anyway." As he spoke, the man in black paused, then looked at the jade box and said to Lin Jing, "However, I need to inspect your elixir medicine first." Lin Jing then passed the jade box over and said, "No problem. As it's a transaction, this step is definitely necessary." The man in black reached out, took the jade box, and then looked at Lin Jing. Lin Jing didn't speak. He just smiled and stretched out his hand in a welcoming gesture. The man in black nodded, then opened the jade box directly. Instantly, a fragrance of elixir medicine filled the air. The man in black took a deep breath and nodded slightly. Then, he began to carefully inspect the medium-grade Nirvana elixir. It wasn't until a quarter of an hour later that the man in black finished his inspection. After completing his examination, he closed the jade box. He then looked up at Lin Jing and said, "Not bad. It is indeed a medium-grade Nirvana elixir, and among medium-grade elixirs, it's of the highest quality. If luck had been a bit better and there were fewer impurities, this elixir would have reached the quality of a superior grade." Having said that, the man in black asked Lin Jing again, "Are you sure you want to trade this elixir with me?" Lin Jing nodded and said, "Of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't have taken it out." "Good." The man in black nodded in agreement. Right after, he took out the silver-white shadow escape flying boat, which had been shrunk down from his space ring. He also took out the Nirvana flower seed packed in a wooden box and the Thundershock shield. After taking out those 3 items, the man in black additionally took out a jade slip from his space ring and pushed it along with the 3 treasures toward Lin Jing. The man in black then said, "You must already know about those 3 items. As for this jade slip, it contains the instructions for controlling the shadow escape flying boat. With this jade slip, you can quickly get familiar with the flying boat, which will spare you a lot of trial and error." "I see," Lin Jing nodded. At that moment, the man in black asked Lin Jing, "I'm curious, since you possess the Nirvana elixir, why didn't you trade with me at the Fong market? Why insist on waiting until after we left?" Lin Jing pondered for a moment before replying. "There were too many people at the time, and it wasn't convenient to trade. That's why I waited to find you afterwards for a private trade." The man in black nodded and said, "You are very clever. I have no doubt, had you completed the trade with me at the Fong market, you would probably have been ambushed and killed the moment you left the Beehive City area. This is my 3rd time participating in their market, and previously I hadn't felt anything amiss. But today, it seemed that there was something not quite right about those people." At this point, the man in black said to Lin Jing, "Fellow Taoist, that Fong market is very unusual. You should not go again next time." Lin Jing then cupped his fists in thanks and said to the man in black, "Thank you for the warning, fellow Taoist." In fact, without the man in black's warning, Lin Jing had also sensed that there was something amiss about the Fong market. At the beginning, Lin Jing hadn't noticed anything unusual, as the atmosphere there was no different from a typical trading event. It wasn't until the end, after the Fong market concluded and the shopkeeper Shen mentioned the ruins, that everything started to feel off. Firstly, it was the fact that shopkeeper Shen mentioned the ruins but omitted some information. Because Lin Jing knew that without the 5 elements command token, they would not be able to open the ruins no matter what. Could it be that shopkeeper Shen didn't know that the entrance to the ruins required a 5 elements command token to open? Honestly, it was indeed possible, but not very likely. Any sane person would definitely investigate beforehand upon receiving news of the ruins. It was improbable for Shopkeeper Shen to rally a large group of cultivators to explore the ruins based on scant information without any prior investigation. That would be unreasonable. Furthermore, aside from those he was acquainted with, there were some who were attending the Fong market for the first time, and they were not even familiar with it. This was even more unreasonable. But these people were all dazzled by the prospect of the ruins as presented by Shopkeeper Shen, and without deliberation, they agreed to search the ruins together. In reality, they did think it through. After all, the ruins were a rarity, and regardless of whether what Shopkeeper Shen said was true or false, it was always right to go have a look. Better to believe it exists than not. This was precisely their thought process. Little did they know, if there truly was a mishap, it was unlikely any of them would escape.